Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Phuzo Soko. Today's topic is data integration, how to choose between Azure, AWS, and GCP. So maybe just before we even get deeper into the presentation, just a little bit about myself. I've got over 20 years experience in IT, initially starting as a software developer and eventually finding my niche in the data space. So specializing in things like data engineering, analysis, science, data warehousing, and business intelligence. Um, Over the years, I've worked in a number of industries, including banking, finance, insurance, manufacturing, telecommunications, and education. Um, so basically, most of my work after I started doing, I found my niche in data, has been to drive data-driven transformations. And lately, because of adaptation of cloud platforms, I work mostly on a cloud platform offerings from Microsoft, which is Azure, Amazon, which is AWS, Oracle. They also have a cloud offering called OCI, and GCP. Within the IT space, within the data space, I'm very keen. I'm an advocate of data science and the artificial intelligence. So I advocate for embedding of, for instance, AI in legacy or new systems that are being developed. Besides that, but still related to my field, I also am a technical writer and an educator. To that effect, I've even created a course on Udemy. The course is mostly demonstrating how one can build ETLs using Microsoft cloud platform, Amazon cloud platform, and GCP. So that's in a nutshell about myself. Now, coming back to the topic. So what is the objective of this discussion this evening? So we would want, because I think the term data integration could be broad and it could mean different things for different people. So we are going to have a definition of what data integration is in the context of data ecosystem, in the context of data driven decision making in an organization. Then we're also going to look at the various cloud platforms available on the market. But for this particular presentation, we'll focus, I think we'll focus mostly on three: Azure, Amazon, AWS, and GCP. Then we'll look at the key considerations influencing the choice of the data integration toolkit. So, for instance, if you go into a greenfield project and they would want to implement cloud computing, so the first point of call is to decide what platform are you going to choose. And then depending on which platform is chosen, because these platforms have got hundreds and hundreds of services within them. So for instance, you may have 10 services that are doing data integration. So apart from choosing the platform itself, you need now to go inside that platform and choose the specific services that you are interested in. But I think as we go further, this one will become clearer. And then who would be interested in this presentation? Who would it be useful to? So we are looking at people like data integrators, people who work in data warehousing, business intelligence, data engineers, analysts, be they business analysts or systems analysts. I think they should find this quite useful. Another set of people that may find this useful are knowledge workers. So knowledge workers may not necessarily be technical people, but they are people over time. They've gotten to uh, because they've got the domain knowledge. They've also gotten to an extent where they are able to build their own solutions. So I think this course would also be this presentation would also be useful to that category of people. Another category of people would just be people who would want to broaden their knowledge. So, like I said earlier, in my career, I started as a software development, as a software developer. But over time, and looking at what was prevailing at the time, looking at my interests, looking at where technology was going, I decided to branch off from software development into the data space, where I've created a niche for myself. So having said that, I think now we can go and start looking at the nitty gritty of what this meetup is all about. So at the top um, is cloud computing. So from cloud computing, then we'll go into the various organizations that offer cloud computing. And within those organizations, we are going to look at the kind of services um, that they offer. So sometimes we throw these words around, but it's important that people understand them in their right context. So if one is to define cloud computing, one of the best definitions I've found is how Amazon defines cloud computing on their uh, uh, on their website. So according to Amazon, cloud computing is an on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So instead of an organization expanding on capex, I mean capital expenditure, meaning buying and maintaining physical data centers and servers, all they do is just use these facilities which are accessed via the internet. So be it storage, be it computing power, be it data integration, be it software development with the CI/CD, be it databases. So this you use and pay on as a needed basis from the cloud provider, in this case, Amazon Web Services. Now, there are a number of companies that are providing cloud computing services. Microsoft is one of them. Their offering is known as Azure. Amazon is one of them. Their offering is known as Amazon Web Services. Oracle has got a cloud computing offering known as Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI. Google has got one known as GCP, or Google Cloud Platform. Tencent has got its own, I think IBM, Alibaba, quite a few others. Now, sometimes it becomes a challenge for an organization to decide which provider to go for. There are quite a number of factors that would help an organization to decide what service to go for. I think we are going to look at some of those factors downstream. So having mentioned some of the organization or companies that provide cloud computing, and as I said much earlier, we're just going to focus on three: Azure, AWS, and GCP. Now, a typical cloud offering platform is going to have so many services. So Microsoft Azure, AWS, GCP, they offer a diverse suite of services. So If you want to do networking, any of these is going to offer it to you. If you want cloud storage, if you want VMs, virtual machines, if you want databases, their offering is very extensive. They've got, I think other platforms have got in excess of 100 services that they offer. So it depends on a number of things. For instance, the use case. What is it that we want to do with this cloud platform that we've acquired? But I think that will be a very broad way of looking at it. So what we've decided in this one is that we are going to just confine ourselves to data integration services. So all these platforms that we've mentioned, they offer data integration services. So we're going just to focus on data integration offering of those three. Now, just to mention ahead of time, there, like I mentioned, that there are a number of factors that help to, if it's a greenfield project, in deciding what tool to use. So we are going to look at a variety of those selection criteria, as well as some literature which is available from renowned consulting houses. One such consulting house that I like to use their framework is Gartner Magic Quadrant. So they produce quite a number. Periodically, they produce some statistics, some reports, some trends, some industry trends to show the how various services are faring in the market. But maybe just to also narrow it down further, it's important that we understand what data integration is in the context of our topic. So data integration is simply a process of unifying data from multiple sources, improving data quality for decision making and efficiency. So in most organizations, this one is fulfilled by data engineers who will develop ETL processes. Now, ETL simply stands for extract, transform, and load. So different companies will have different sources of data. So you could have a CRM, you could have data in spreadsheets, you could have data being read from IoT, Internet of Things devices. You could have data being generated by sensors, for instance, and you want to integrate all this data into a central repository so that you've got one source of reporting for the organization, one source for analytics. So in this way, you only have one source of truth. So such kind of management of data is what we call data integration. So it will give an organization several advantages. So if, for instance, this integration ends up into a data warehouse, then you're likely to benefit from the fact that a data warehouse stores historical data. So if, for instance, you want to see historical trends, what has been happening in the past, then that data warehouse is able to help you to do that. And in most instances, data warehouses are optimized for analytics and querying. So because of that, then you get the benefit of reporting from a central repository. Now, as earlier mentioned, each of these cloud providers that we are going to look at, namely Azure, AWS, and GCP, each one of them offer unique set of services for data integration. So what we'll do is we'll look at each one of them and maybe mention a few data integration services that they offer, and then see how they compare with the others. And then the last thing will be analyzing capabilities to help businesses make informed decisions. So let us now go and start looking at the various offerings from the various cloud platforms. So we are going to start with Microsoft Azure. As earlier mentioned, this is an offering from Microsoft. I think at this point in time, this technology has now matured. There have been a lot of development. I think the advent of cloud computing has accelerated the development, research and development from these vendors to develop some of these solutions. So prior to cloud computing, for instance, some of the data integration tools from Microsoft, in fact, from Microsoft, it was SQL Server integration services. Then off the shelf would get other integration tools, for example, from SAS, from Informatica, and so on. So those were good tools in their time. I think they are still versatile. They are still organizations that still use them. But coming back to Microsoft Azure, for ETL, they've got quite a number of tools, a number of services. So maybe just to also simplify terminologies. So a platform, for example, Microsoft Azure is going to have several tools, but different offerings will either call them tools or services. So I may be using those terms interchangeably. So in Azure, there are quite a number of services that you could use for data integration. The first one, the foremost one, and the most prominent one is called Data Factory. So within Data Factory, you are able to move data and transform it. So that's it's a cloud-based ETL. In other words, extract, transform, and load, meaning you can move data around, you can transform data around. So from a source, you transform it and load it into a target system. So the goodness with some of these services, for example, Azure Data Factory, is that they've got connectors to various source systems. So you've got a connector for SAP ERP. You've got a connector to other databases, for example, Oracle. You've got connectors to spreadsheets, connectors to CRM systems. You've got connectors to spreadsheets, CSV files, sensors, quite a diverse set of connectors that you can use to get your data. Apart from that, the Azure ecosystem for data integration services also includes Azure Snaps Analytics. Now, this is a data warehouse offering in Microsoft Azure. So it can be used in isolation, or you can use it in combination with other tools, for instance, Azure Data Factory. You've got also Azure Logic Apps. These are systems. This is a platform where you can develop logic to enhance the data integration that you are doing. Another offering that you would find in Azure, although it is not typically a Microsoft product, is Databricks. Now, the goodness with Databricks is that it's also available in services like in the offering of Amazon. Now, Databricks is a unified open platform system for building and deploying enterprise-grade analytics solutions. So Databricks can also be used as a standalone or in a combination with the other tools. The goodness with Databricks is that it has, using it as a standalone, it can also serve as an ETL process, meaning within Databricks, you've got means to extract, transform, and load data. You also have a platform where you can load the data. Apart from that, you've got a platform where you can do the transformation of the data. And it allows you to do the transformation of the data using, for example, Python programming, R programming, Scala, Java. So it is quite a versatile to use. It also has machine learning capabilities as well as SQL capabilities. So these are some of the services that we Microsoft Azure offers for data integration. So here I'm just listing some of the strengths, seamless integration with other Microsoft products. So what do we mean by that? So one of the offerings from Microsoft for business intelligence, for example, is the Power BI. So Power BI can integrate with any of these Microsoft services for purposes of business intelligence, for purposes of data visualization. Then Azure also has got strong security features built in it. I think over time, Microsoft has really brought this product to great maturity. Now, when we talk about the hybrid capabilities, we're talking about a situation where you've got some of your capabilities in-house. In other words, some of your things are still on premise. You are still working on your local servers, and another set of your uh, assets are deployed in the cloud. So those are some of the strengths that one would get by deploying Microsoft Azure. Let us now go and see Amazon AWS, Amazon Web Services. So this also has got quite a number of services that could be used either as standalone or in a combination of one form or another. So one of them, quite prominent, is called Glue, AWS Glue. This is their ETL offering. So one would say that it is an equivalent of Data Factory that we saw in Azure. The next one is the Amazon Redshift, which is a data warehouse offering from Amazon. And this one, we can safely say it is the equivalent of Synapse that we saw on the previous slide, which is the data warehousing offering from Microsoft. So Redshift is the equivalent of, so that's the data warehouse or analytics offering from Amazon. Then we've got Kinesis. Kinesis is a streaming service. So if you want your data in real time, you can rely on Kinesis to do this. So what are some of the advantages of strengths of these services from Amazon? So Amazon, I think, has is also quite a mature cloud platform. Most of their services have been well tested and really working very well in a number of industry. The second advantage there we are looking at, or strength, is a wide range of services and integration. Just like Azure, AWS tools, for example, Glue, have got connectors to a number of platforms or services or providers of data, be it CRMs, Internet of Things, sensors, databases. You could read from that. There's also quite a good community around this ecosystem. In addition to that, just like I was explaining them how Power BI integrates with the AWS, with the Azure, AWS also has got its own BI offering known as QuickSight. So QuickSight is the business intelligence offering service from AWS, and it is able to seamlessly integrate with all these services that we've mentioned here. Okay, the last platform we are going to look at is the offering from Google, Google GCP, or Google cloud platform. Now, from these three cloud providers, I find that Google has got the most tools that you can choose from to build your data integration. I've just listed three, but I think they've got quite a lot. They've got, I think, among the three, they've got the most number of tools that you could use for data integration. So we're basically going to look at four of them and just briefly explain what each one of them is capable of doing. We've got the Google Cloud Data Flow. This is also an ETL tool that you can use. The advantage of this is that you can use it in either streaming mode or in batch mode. By this, I mean there are certain use cases where you want data in a live mode. For instance, stock prices. You would want to analyze such information in near real time. For example, things like sentiment analysis from Twitter. You would want to extract such information in near real time so that you are able to analyze it and present your results in near real time so that people who want to make decisions based on such are able to do so. So Google Cloud Data Flow and Data Fusion would be kind of the equivalents of Glue in AWS and Azure in Microsoft. The next service in GCP is called BigQuery. Now, BigQuery is the analytics and data warehousing service available in GCP. There's something similar to BigQuery called the Bigtable, but that one is for NoSQL database. So this one here, we are mostly confining ourselves to relational databases. So in comparison to AWS and GCP, BigQuery can be equated to Redshift in AWS and Synapse in Azure. Another tool that can be used for data transformation or ETL is Data Fusion. Okay. Now, this is an ETL service that enables loading data from multiple sources. It allows you to visualize it. It allows you to publish it to various cloud platform warehouses. It's a very, very versatile and powerful tool for data transformation. The last one that we are going to see here is called PubSub. This is a real-time messaging service in GCP. So what people do is that we've got what we call publishers who produce content, and then subscribers will be subscribing to that content. And in most cases, this is an ideal use case for real-time data. So if you are streaming something and you want near real-time analysis, then PubSub would be an ideal tool to use. So just like the other providers, I think GCP has come of age. Their technology is quite mature. Most of it has been well tested, very reliable. It incorporates machine learning, artificial intelligence. As a matter of fact, there's actually Google is also one of the providers that is leading in terms of integrating their services with the AI. To an extent, we've seen reports where it's argued that Google is competitively priced. It's well priced compared to the two other platforms. But I think that is subject to a lot of things which we are going to see maybe further in the next slides. Now, having seen the three providers and you are, for example, in a greenfield environment and you are asked, so what service should we procure? What platform should our company procure? So in most cases, it's incumbent upon the consultants to advise the client to say, all right, here are some of the considerations that should influence the choice of the service that you want. Obviously, the first one would be the use case. In other words, what is it that you want to do? If that question is not correctly answered, you find that a lot of companies will end up spending a lot of money on something that eventually they'll just discard because there wasn't proper analysis of the requirement. So the first point there I'm indicating is existing infrastructure and technology stack. So that would not apply to a greenfield environment. That would apply to an existing platform. So, for example, if on premise they were using a Microsoft SQL stack, so in other words, Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Reporting Services, Microsoft Integration Services, Microsoft Analysis Services, then naturally one would tend to gravitate towards Azure because that is like for like, that is a Microsoft product. Now, one of the good things also with moving from like products is that which is point number 4, you've got the expertise. So the learning curve is not as steep. So you can bring your resources on board and in a very short time, you upskill them. So the next point is what we've already seen, the use case. What is it that we want to do? Okay, the other one is the budget and the cost considerations. Now, one of the things that, for example, GCP does very well is to give credits. So they would give you to say, all right, for this set of services, we are giving you maybe $10,000 in a year to use for free. Once you surpass that threshold, then you start paying. Maybe that is one of the consideration that people argue about the competitive pricing nature of GCP. Of course, other services have got different offering in terms of how they charge. So, for instance, if you are using serverless services, for example, you only once you've completed the task, the service is automatically switched off, and you are not charged for that. You don't necessarily have to switch it off yourself. The next is team expertise and skill set. Now, this is particularly interesting because what I've noted is that different geographical areas have got different preferences. So, for example, in South Africa, you find that there are quite a number of Microsoft certified experts. So, Microsoft Azure would easily find resources there. You go to West Africa, for example, you find maybe people are more into AWS or GCP. So different geographical locations have got certain biases of skills. So it just depends. If you go to a country, for example, where because of maybe political decisions, a certain service is not there, you may find that the number of experts maybe in GCP are more than the other two because the other two are not being offered there. Another factor that would determine is proximity to data centers. Now, this is very important because it also affects latency. So how long does it take for your data to render? So mostly you find our clients in Europe, most of their servers are in Europe. Find Europe West in London, Europe North in Ireland, in Frankfurt, and so you find, for example, GCP projects. Their servers will just be around that place. Of course, it is possible that you are in Europe and you could have a server that is in Australia or in the US, but then I think you just increasing the latency there. The other consideration would be a government consideration, so laws of the land. So, for instance, the US and China are particularly pedantic about who stores their data. So, for instance, the US, I think they've got an agreement with data that certain servers are just dedicated to them, which they call, I think, US government, or I think it's called US government. So these are servers from Amazon, but they're just dedicated to hosting US data, US government data. Nobody else's data is hosted on such servers. The last one, but not the least, is a literature. Um, what does literature say about these offerings? So, like I'd said in my intro, one of the consultants that provide such information is Gartner. So, what Gartner does is periodically they produce what is known as a magic quadrant for different tools. So this is just, I got one from their site. This is for data integration. So sometimes you would have something for databases. You would have something for networking. So how do we read this quadrant? So what it will tell you is that so here you've got visionaries, here you've got niche players, here you've got challengers, here you've got leaders. So in terms of data integration, their research indicates that Informatica, so you can see it is on the extreme right and on top. So in terms of leaders in data integration, Informatica is the leader. Okay, so that tells you a lot that, all right, maybe the offering from Informatica is superior to these others. But you can see Microsoft is just close there. You can see Oracle is close by there. You can see AWS is still in this quadrant. So you can argue that all these in this quadrant are almost competing fairly. Then, for example, this quadrant here it just tells us a niche market. So this one may not be for everybody, but depending on your application, you may just confine yourself to one of those offerings. Then challengers, these are upcoming services that are still in the space, and then maybe their offering are getting also traction. They are getting attention from users around the world. So this is all I had to share regarding data integration from the various cloud platforms. But in this case, we specifically just zeroed in on the three offerings from Microsoft, Amazon, and GCP. So I hope you found this useful. I would be willing to take any questions if there are any. Thank you very much. Okay, so you can use that for our feedback, and it will be really appreciated. So, in the absence of any questions, I think we'll end here, and I would like to sincerely thank all of you who joined. I'm hoping we will cross paths again in a further presentation in the data space, considering now most companies are really pushing for data-driven solutions in their organization. So once again, I would like to thank you very much.